Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk About It. I am your host, Stephanie, and we're gonna get into talking about these crazy things that's going on this week. So I hope you guys have your drinks ready and getting ready to listen to what we have to say today. Of course, I have my co-host on here tonight. Del Frey, he is here with us tonight as well, and we're gonna do what you call a deep dive in all these hot topics going on throughout the.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you, Steph.
How's
Yeah.
your week going?
Oh, how's it going? The days are blurring together. Things are busy. I have another project I'm being onboarded to at work, which is good because it's always good to have job security, especially when you're a federal contractor, because uh, there's a lot going on, obviously, in terms of governance and government. So I was assigned to a project at NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and I worked with them for quite some time until the richest man in the world decided to gut that area of the government. But thankfully, I've been able to be onboarded on other projects. So things are busy, but busy in a good way. And then, of course, things are busy too in terms of politics. There's a lot going on with the whole redistricting thing that's happening and all that, but I'm sure we're going to jump into that soon.
Oh yes, we definitely will, and we're gonna start tonight off right now by I'm quite sure everyone already knows that Malcolm Jamal Warner and Ozzy Osbourne had passed over the past couple what is it, 24 hours we've had they passed. And Malcolm, if anybody knows Malcolm Jamal Warner, he was a trailblazer. He was only 4 years old, and he played Theo on the Cosby Show, and he was also an actor with several other TV shows like The Residents, and he did play a cameo on 911. So he will be truly missed. And Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness, I think that's what they nicknamed. I used to call him the Batman because he used to bite the bats' heads on stage. He used to scare the mess out of me. But he passed as well yesterday at home with his family. And of course he had just did a farewell tour last week. So man, it's just a crazy thing that's going on this week. But we do have Antoinette Harris will be coming on later on through the show. She will be on. She is running for judge over in Dallas area, place 2. So we're gonna have her to come on as well, and then we're gonna get into these hot topics and talk about what is going on. So Dell, let's go into the remembrance of Malcolm and Ozzy.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to unmute myself there. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I mean, the guy was definitely a rock legend. I think he also had a reality show. Is that right? I'm not sure if I saw it, but I thought there was some sort of reality show that he had.
He did.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I'm not that much into music, and so I had to like second guess. I had to recall like how do I know Ozzy Osbourne? And I was listening to NPR, and they kind of did like a little bit of like a montage of the songs he's like really known for, and I tend to forget that I did grow up listening to his music. I didn't necessarily always know that there was Ozzy Osbourne who made some of these things, but like things like Crazy Train is definitely one I would hear a lot. I would hear that a lot, especially in karaoke. So it's one of those things where, I think everyone has heard music by Ozzy Osbourne, but you might not even necessarily know that it's him until you realize, like, oh, this is a guy who did do this song that I heard a lot back in the day. So yeah, he was. How old was he? In his 80s? Is that right?
I think it was 70 something. He
Okay.
was in his 70s.
Okay.
So that's to me, that's kind of, I don't know. I think anything under 80, I think is pretty young, to be passing. But he had Parkinson disease. So that he wasn't able to really walk anymore like he would normally be. So my heart goes out to both of the families, especially, well, both of them, because it's really a sad occasion that both of them perished. This basically probably 12 hours from each other. And with Malcolm Jamal Warner, he's the same age I am, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you just never know, you have to live your life one day at a time. And like I always tell people all the time, love your loved ones, because you just never know when that's it. That's a wrap. Unfortunately, he leaves behind his wife and his 8-year-old daughter, which they were out vacation over in Costa Rica. And he has a ton of people that will truly miss him. And he was also a musician too. So he was very talented. So we prayers go out to the family.
Absolutely, absolutely. I tell you what, my deepest apologies. I need to put the camera down for 2 seconds. I'll be right back in 2 minutes.
Okay.
I'll also let you talk about everything that's going on in politics.
Okay, no problem. Well, of course, y'all stuck with me. But let me tell you, we have so much stuff going on today, and with President Trump accusing President Obama of treason, that is just absolutely ridiculous. He's saying that he was involved in the Russia conspiracy of the 2016 election, and he wants to bring charges against him. Of course, President Obama responded, of course, that's ridiculous. Why? I don't even know why he even have to address this, because we all know the truth that didn't happen. Obama has nothing to do with that. What's going on with him? And I'm just over President Trump accusing everybody of everything instead of dealing with the things that we all want to know. We all want to know about the Epstein file. We want to know who's on the list. So if you're on the list, you're just on the list. And we want to know what's going on. And also, I want to know, why are you taking away Medicaid and getting rid of school funding and all these other bills that you have that you're trying to get rid of? That's what I want to know. What are you doing about that? Because all he has been doing lately is just tearing down black people, number one. So if you were in the military and you serve well and you were mentioned, he's trying to strip you away from that. If you basically, he's even trying to strip away MLK also. So he's just doing all kind of stuff instead of doing what he's supposed to be doing, like protecting the country, making sure that we have our economy boosting like it was 8 months ago, until he got into office and made it a hot mess. So we really just need to really focus on what's important, and because the things that he's focusing on right now is very not important. And for him to sit up there and literally accuse President Obama of treason, and I don't know if he understands what he said, because that is some serious allegation. If y'all know what treason is, a person can be put in jail up to including death. So when you throw those kind of words out, you better be able to back it up. And he doesn't have anything to back it up. So I don't even know why he let that come out of his mouth. Of course I do. You do too. He's up there just trying to deflect, because he know his name in the list, and he don't want to be exposed, and whoever he's friends with exposed to that. And we got Dale back. Hi, Dale.
Hey, how you doing?
All
Yeah,
right.
it's absolutely crazy. It's interesting how he's telling on himself, because it's just so painfully obvious. It can't be any more obvious than it just can't be any more obvious. It's literally insane. I think I didn't see yet. I just saw the headline on the news how Donald Trump basically he was answering a question about Epstein, then he tried to change the topic mid sentence. It's so
Mhm.
painfully obvious. And look, I don't really know if uh, if he actually did like rape anybody on that island. But one thing's for damn sure is his name has to be all over the documents because of the fact he was very good friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Everyone knows this. That's not a secret. He's admitted it past. I mean, he's really close friends with Epstein, and he's really close friends with Ghislaine Maxwell. And when Ghislaine Maxwell was being brought to court, he literally said, "quote I wish her well," end quote, because he knows them. And it's
Yes.
really just one of the things where I just shake my head because I remember when I was a young kid and I would sometimes hear Fox News play in the background of the TV. And all of the time, the main thing Fox News would say is that they were against the coastal elites. The coastal elites are the problem. It's always been a thing, those coastal elites. And in the end of the day, Donald Trump, a New York City boy, an elite, is now the president of the United States. And his elite friends are Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. It's so just painfully obvious. There is we all know what's happening here. And the interesting thing now, what's going on with Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump, the interesting thing now is seeing the narrative change by individuals like Pam Bondi and especially how does he pronounce his name? Bangino, the podcaster guy who in all sorts of nonsense conspiracy theories. Watching these individuals twist their narrative and struggle to do so. Even Alex Jones at InfoWars is struggling with the narrative here. And for Donald Trump to blame Joe Biden or Barack Obama is cartoonish. Jeffrey Epstein died while Donald Trump was the president of the United States. He
Right.
died under Donald Trump's watch. And Donald Trump said he was going to bring out these files, and now he's not. It's really interesting. I don't know if I can pull I won't be able to pull the video up right now. But if you look on YouTube, look at a guy named David Pack. I really like following David Packman. There's a couple of videos back where he covered um, a really major gaffe. It was on Fox News, and they were interviewing Bill O'Reilly. If you recall, Bill O'Reilly used to be a Fox News anchor from like a long time
Mhm.
ago. And O'Reilly was ranting, and Bill O'Reilly was, he drank the Kool-Aid. He followed Donald Trump. And he was saying, like, I can't believe this happened and that happened. And then he slipped up because he actually, for some reason, he actually genuinely thought that Jeffrey Epstein died while Barack Obama was the president. And the Fox News anchor actually had to correct him. And for a minute there, you can see Bill O'Reilly having to process this. He paused, he froze, and he realized that he didn't get the timetable set up correctly. Bill O'Reilly actually genuinely was convinced and thought that Jeffrey Epstein was arrested before Donald Trump was the president. It's interesting to see how these people try to twist the narrative and even convince of it. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's interesting because the whole conspiracy theories being pushed by right wing media has always been about a pedophile cabal. Like, look at Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton's a pedophile with what was it? Having a child sex trafficking ring in the basement of some sort of pizza place. If we all remember Pizzagate, it's always been claiming that Democrats are pedophiles. But in the end of the day, the president's best friend was a guy, Jeffrey Epstein. And it's just so painfully obvious that they're telling on themselves. Couldn't be any more obvious. And I am kind of glad to see that it does look like this isn't necessarily dying as quickly as Donald Trump would like. It is interesting to see how Donald Trump does not actually have full control here completely, because there are some right wingers who are calling Donald Trump out. Not all of them. It's interesting which ones do and which ones don't. For example, Tucker Carlson is saying, like, I will not be silenced. Tim Pool, of all people, is saying, like, I will not be silenced. Some people do. Like, I think it's Charlie Kirk is now saying that he's taking Donald Trump's side. Um, it's interesting to see now with this latest development that Donald Trump is suing, of all people, Rupert Murdoch. He's suing the guy who owns Fox News because Fox
Mhm.
News now has this information about this letter that Donald Trump has sent to Jeffrey Epstein in the past, which is just flagrantly creepy. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not yet, but it just speaks all. It touches all aspects of what I call ick. and to see that Donald Trump of all people is suing of all people Rupert Murdoch, the guy who owns Fox News.
Right.
It's just so cartoonish. It
And
is
they're
so,
friends. That's the craziest thing. They're friends.
yeah, and they're both right wing media individuals. But it's interesting to see when something goes too far, even for right wing conservatives. Right, this happens every
Right.
once in a while. Then you see like infighting within the right. In Texas, like one of the more infighting things that we sometimes see is people who associate with Tim Wilkes, because Tim Dunn and Ferris Wilkes, they're a major donor here in Texas, and they actually have associated themselves with Nick Fuentes. And for some people, that just goes a step too far. But then
Mhm.
you always have your political fighting, and then usually over time, people do get distracted, and it goes away. But this one doesn't seem like it's dying as fast as Donald Trump would like, and it's interesting to see Donald Trump panic over this. Now, will people
He's
remember?
panicking. He is definitely panicking and deflecting every chance he gets. Anytime that someone asks him a question about it, he wants to go say Biden did this or now Obama. This is just ridiculous. I'm like, if you did it, you did it. You know,
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous.
yeah, and it's because he ran on the concept of releasing the Epstein files. He ran on
Yeah,
that, and
yeah.
the first warning sign we got was when they had a whole bunch of right wing podcasters that said we were going to give you like the first bit of Jeffrey Epstein files, and what they released was stuff that people already knew about. That was the first
Mhm.
warning sign. But then for Pam Bondi to turn around and say there's nothing here is
Oh, don't
it's
forget, she
crazy.
said it was on her desk. She's like, "Oh, it's on my desk." So me, like you and I both have a desk. So I'm sitting up here like, okay, it's on my desk. So it's just waiting for me to just go read through it. Like, okay, this is good, this is bad, whatever. She likes to lie as well, and she's deflecting and trying to cut up and spin it all kinds of ways. I'm like, I don't even know if she can keep up with the things that keep coming out. The pictures are the proof. You know, they're showing a lot of pictures, and it's not AI that's popping out all over the place with dancing with these young girls. I don't know if they were under 18 or not, but allegedly he was seen with a lot of young ladies, you know. So who else is going to be in trouble? Maybe he's trying to cover up for somebody else. So it's all alleged. We don't know if he actually did something. But the picture that's being painted, you look dirty, man. You look dirty. You look dirty. So I don't know who you covering up for, but I'll be telling it. I want to know.
Yeah, I think we all do. That's the crazy thing. He ran on this, and you know, I don't know what else to say. He ran on this, right? It's crazy. This is literally crazy. But will this is a thing though that I do kind of worry about a little bit. I don't know if this is really something of any grave concern to me, but I do know that people do get exhausted with politics. There's a thing that I call political fatigue, and when it comes to the next election, whether it be the midterms or um, the next election past, I'm not going to say people are going to forget per se, but will they remember enough, or will they be distracted by some sort of other event, right? Because with the 24 hours news cycle, it does always feel like there's always something going on, and sometimes people will forget and or get distracted by other things. So I'm not quite sure. I mean, we're just gonna see what happens, and and I don't know if I can put this on if I can share this or not. But I'm trying to share a video because I found this video to be absolutely hilarious. I think you have admin power, Stephanie. Are you able to push this video onto the stage? Um,
Yes.
yeah. So this is something I find
Is
absolutely
last
hilarious.
night. This is a real what the F moment, but it has major political implications. Let me explain this. Last night on News Nation, Bill O'Reilly, who's a frequent guest on Leland Vitter's show, I've been a guest also. Bill O'Reilly, as you can tell in this image, he looks confused. He was completely confused about when Jeffrey Epstein was arrested, when he died, who was president at the time and who was attorney general at the time. In fact, as Leland Vittert explains to Bill O'Reilly here, Epstein was arrested when Trump was president. He died in jail when Trump was president. Merrick
I'm going to
Garland was
fast
not
forward a
the
bit
attorney.
just to get to the point that
Under Merrick Garland's Justice Department. That could be. Am I wrong on that? I don't think so. And then he was incarcerated, and then he committed suicide. Okay, the suicide thing is bull. Whether you
Bill, I think this is important. Bill, I think this is important. He was arrested in 2019, and he committed suicide in 2019. He died August 10th of 2019. So the Biden administration was not involved in a conviction or a trial of him. They were of Ghislaine Maxwell.
Okay. And that's a good point of clarification. But he was arrested and indicted under Merrick Garland.
No, under Trump.
Who had all
under
of the
Trump.
information.
Epstein was arrested, indicted, and committed suicide under Trump in 2019. Trump was president. Merrick Garland was not the attorney general.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Anyways, I just wanted to share that. Oh man, that's just funny. I don't know what else to say, but that is very, very funny.
That is the craziest thing. That is crazy.
But it's also it's for one, it's absolutely hilarious, right? Because especially because to see a former Fox News anchor get called out, which I think that Fox News Nation. I don't know what channel that is, but
it was.
But but the other thing too, it is almost, I don't want to really necessarily call it scary, but it is the narrative that Donald Trump is trying to push. Right? It's not real. It's not real at all. It's a lie. But I do kind of worry, like, are there other more Bill O'Reillys out there in the world who will believe that kind of nonsense? But I don't know what's more to say about that. But I just wanted to share that video because it did make me blurt laugh. But
you know what? I'm with you on that, Dale. I have been laughing at a lot of these videos that's coming out because I'm like, you just can't make this stuff up. Every day there's something different that's coming out, and I'm like fatigued. I'm like completely just over it. I'm like, show the file, get over it. If you're on the list, you're on the list. You already got the Supreme Court in your pocket. So, I mean, what we gonna do? The House and the Senate. What we gonna do?
yeah. At this point, it does feel like the Streisand effect. He's almost driving more attention to it by trying to ignore it. But
yeah, quit deflecting. Go ahead, man up. Go on and handle your business and say, yeah, I'm on the list. Yes, I was friends. Because we all know you were friends with him. Just go ahead, suck it up, buttercup. Go ahead and say what it is, and let's move on. Because we got better fish to be frying than be listening to this crap that you guys spill. Because you keep deflecting and you're not telling the truth, which we know you're not telling the truth. So let's move on, because he decided to call our governor, Greg Abbott, and calls for us to have a special session in Austin to do what? Gerrymander. So we got a lot of stuff going on here. Instead of us trying to help the people that's down with the flood that they finally got the last couple of bodies, they finally got the last remains. And instead of helping with that situation going on down there in Kerrville, we're trying to hide an agenda saying that, we're going to go ahead and make sure we have a bill in place and funding in place for for disaster relief, but we also going to ease in to gerrymander for congressional seats. Now, let's make that make sense. Do they make any sense? And it happened to be the metro area where there are people of color and brown folks and people that don't like them anyway and want to move them out. You want to get rid of Jasmine Crockett. You get rid of the young lady down in San Antonio, I believe. And who is Mike? What is the other guy name? We have two more people that they're trying to get out of their seats, and these maps that they have drawn, it is so ridiculous. To it looks like Congresswoman Johnson will be in trouble if they wind up doing this. So I hope they sue the pants off of them. I hope they break quantum and they just leave. What you got?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say that I do think a special session is absolutely necessary, and it's necessary because of what happened in Kerrville. And there's an area in Texas that is known to flood, and that's why we need a special session. Um, Special sessions, according to the Texas state constitution, can only be a maximum of 30. And so it's not very long at all. It's very difficult to get bills passed in such a short timeline. It's hard to get bills passed even during the regular session, which lasts half a year, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a whole process to it. It needs to go through both. It's not just that it needs to go through both chambers. A bill has to go through a committee first. It needs to leave the committee before it can even be read on the House floor. There's something called readings, and there has to be 3 readings of the bill. Every one of those bill readings needs to pass, needs to be voted on, needs to be adopted, and then after it's done in the House, it needs to go to the Senate. So it's really difficult to get bills passed, and that's by design, by the way. It's by design. The concept here is if we're going to make laws, then everyone really does have to agree on it. So it is intentionally difficult to get bills to pass. Special sessions can only be 30 days. And what's interesting here is that the governor has put a lot of food on the menu. There's too much there. For those who don't know, the way special session works is that the governor will open up the special session. He'll call for a special session, but he also will say why the special session is being called. And he'll give a list of items that the House or Senate should be focusing on. And if anyone tries to do any bills other than what the governor has talked about, a motion called something called a point of order. And if someone basically stems outside of the subject that the governor has brought up and tries to make a bill about, I don't know, like whether it be pro-life, pro-choice, or basically something the governor has not listed in the reasoning for the special session, then any House member can just walk up to the House floor, declare a point of order, and have that bill immediately axed on the spot. So the governor has a huge laundry list of things which he has put that the House can make bills for. But to be honest, it's too many items. There's just too much there for everyone to be able to move forward and actually make any progress on all the items listed. There are a couple of different items that were brought up in the special session was THC and marijuana. Another one was, of course, redistricting. And another one was the Kerr County, helping out Kerr County with their system, which is something that they really do, honestly. Now, I might be a little bit behind with the news. Behind on the news, I mean, I'm not quite sure what happened yet today, but I was watching the news last night, and I did see how there is motions being made right now in the current special session, making progress on pushing forward a bill to ban THC products. Marijuana and weed, by the way, is not legalized here in Texas, but the Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and the regular session, for some reason, just made it his mission to try to ban THC and marijuana. The governor wound up vetoing that, but the governor did call for a special session to say, all right, well, you can basically ban THC, but not to the same level that Dan Patrick pushed for. It is interesting to see and kind of saddening to see that they're making motions already about banning THC, but no motion yet. And again, I'm not quite sure what happened yet today, but as of last, there's been no movement yet so far in terms of helping out Kerr County with their emergency broadcast systems. I do expect that they will probably move very quickly in trying to redistrict. I think that Donald Trump knows, all the Republicans know, that the pendulum swings back and forth, and every time there is a midterm, the people generally, statistically, always vote opposition party for whoever the president is. That happens every midterm. And the pendulum is swinging particularly more harshly this time around. I remind everyone that the first time Donald Trump had a trifecta, there was a blue wave during his midterm. And I think
Mhm.
we're all expecting the same thing to happen. And they are scared that they may lose the majority in the congressional House, which is why they want to gerrymander. I'm not quite, I've seen only one map so far that has been proposed. I'm thinking that more will be proposed as well. What's interesting and what we're going to be watching out for is understanding that, all right, they're going to gerrymander, but they can only gerrymander so much. Obviously, their intention is to find purple districts that are held by Democrats and try to tweak those to just be a little bit more red.
Mhm.
But in the process of trying to tweak purple districts to make them a little bit more red, they're going to have to make certain sacrifices. And what they're going to wind up is making other red districts slightly more blue in the process of making certain districts more red. There's a little bit of a trade off. Now, how much of a trade off and how much of a risk is it? We're going to see. Um, I was watching Yolitics with Jason Whitley on WFAA, and I really hated this one-liner where when someone was asking Jason Whitley, he's like, "Well, what movement can the Democrats do?" And Jason Whitley saying, "The thing the Democrats can do. Republicans dominate the state House. Republicans dominate the state Senate. The governor is a Republican. The Republicans are in complete control." And the only thing that maybe Democrats can maybe do is try to break a quorum. So, according to Robert's rules, if a certain number of representatives are not on the House floor, then the quorum is broken and the session cannot continue. We Democrats have done this before. Quorum has been broken before. I forget the bill number, but I remember it was something about pro-life, pro-choice. And we have successfully broken quorum in the past. Now, while that was done in the past, what was interesting is that the Republicans retaliated by saying, all right, if you don't show up to work, you will be fined $100 for every day that you're not at work. I don't know if they'll reintroduce that rule or not. We'll definitely see. And that's is that quorum breaking is possible, but it's only going to delay things. And what I fear is that it's just going to delay the inevitable. Republicans do have the power right now, and we're going to have to see how they gerrymander this stuff and if there's any potential risks that they have in terms of making some districts more blue. We're not going to really know until we really see which district maps they vote for. But again, so I'm not necessarily saying I have any hope. I think that they are going to get their way. It will be interesting though to see the House, the state House of Representatives push this forward because they are limited with time. Today's Wednesday. I think we're maybe 3 days into the special session, and this.
3 days into it, and what's going to wind up happening? I know that the House, they're already talking about breaking it, so it's very possible that they're going to go ahead and do because this bill is just ridiculous, So I want to see them break it, and I want to see everyone. Everyone just needs to call their state representative and their senators. Hold on. Uh oh. Hold tight.
Party going on over here. It's definitely going to be interesting. So we at the Frisco Democratic Club. What's interesting is that every time we have our happy hour for the Frisco Democratic Club, I bring a microphone and an amplifier, and I introduce the candidates. For example, there are two candidates who are running for office against Keith Self, and so there's going to be a Democratic primary for these two Democratic candidates who are going to primary each other to see which one will take on Keith Self in the general election. And the thing that's interesting about Frisco is we are sliced into three different congressional seats. That it's interesting that it's shaped like this. Now, granted, the Frisco city limits are indeed quite large. Frisco is almost about the size of Louisville. But what's interesting with one of the proposed maps I saw is it does actually place Frisco into one giant congressional district. And I would actually argue that kind of makes sense. It's kind of ridiculous to have Frisco sliced up into 3 different areas. But again, it's going to be done with an intention, and it's going to be done with an intention to help out Republicans. So we're definitely going to see moving forward how this goes. But it also shows a level of desperation that the Republicans are in. They wouldn't be doing this unless they absolutely had to. The optics obviously look absolutely terrible. Redistricting happens, sure, but it happen every 10 years right after the census. The reason that redistricting is done is it's done by looking at the census data. So to redistrict without new census data, one has to ask, why? I mean, I don't expect Republicans to be honest and say, yeah, we're going to try to gerrymander it for the sake of trying to keep our elections. If they're not going to admit that, which is honestly, let's be real here, that's the truth, what other reason, what logical, actualist reason would someone have to say that redistricting must happen now without any new census data? It makes absolutely no sense. It's a clear power grab. And it's the type of thing where Donald Trump is worried about these upcoming midterms. And so I think in the minds of Republicans, they think to themselves, like, if there was going to be any state in the country to redistrict, they're probably thinking to themselves, it should be Texas. It's not just probably because a lot of people perceive Texas to be red, but another interesting thing, too, that I remind people is that the 2 states in the country with the highest population spikes right now is both Texas and California. It's interesting because I do see a lot of people saying, a lot of Republicans in Texas saying, don't California my Texas. That's a comment that we hear a lot. But the interesting thing is that actually both Texas and California both have the largest population spikes. In fact, there was also another interesting stat I'll just give you real quick before I go off on a wild tangent, is that if you want to know who is moving here to Texas and where they're coming from, you can look at the U-Haul. U-Haul has a GPS tracker on all of their U-Haul trucks. And they released a report of showing like where all the U-Haul trucks have been coming and going. And they actually found that the number one place that people move from into Texas is actually Oklahoma. That was the year before last, I believe. That was a report that they interestingly found. Doesn't mean that people still come here from all over the country, but in terms of is anyone California-ing Texas? No, not really. Actually, Texas is being Oklahoma, right? But to get back on topic, because we have a population spike like this, I can see is why the Republicans are trying to gerrymander now. And if anything, I almost think to myself, well, maybe the Democrats should retaliate. Maybe California should redistrict now as well. I mean, I don't really know if that's really wise, but sometimes I feel like maybe we should fight fire with fire, but I don't know. We're going to have to see and wait to see what the proposed maps look like, and then we will see how much of a change it makes. But yeah, I think Stephanie's still there. But yeah, the gerrymandering that we see is quite ridiculous, and from what I understand, I think the blue areas in Texas, in terms of the congressional seats that are blue, is not that many, but it's kind of along the southern Texas-Mexico border, and I'm trying to recall what else. Obviously, in the Dallas area, we have Jasmine Crockett, and we're going to see what happens there. But Dallas should be a Democratic stronghold, but it depends how they set the lines. And so it'll be definitely interesting to see what happens there and how that goes forward. It's a very, very desperate move that the Republicans are doing. Again, it makes no sense to redistrict without new census data. It is clearly a power grab, and it's clearly because this administration is absolutely terrified. They know they look bad right now. This Jeffrey Epstein scandal is absolutely devastating to them. And what we see in elections, in the midterm elections, my brain's farting, I almost forgot the word midterm. What we usually see in the midterm elections is a lower turnout. And what we usually have seen in the past when a Republican is the president of the United States during the mid, it's not necessarily always that we have like a blue wave. It's also that a lot of Republicans just don't show up to vote. And I'm thinking probably the same thing will happen this time around. There's a lot of Republicans who are exhausted of Donald Trump, and even men, for not releasing the Epstein files and things like that. There's a lot of disappointment that even Republicans have. Donald Trump, I think, right now has like the lowest approval rating ever. So they are obviously right to be scared. And this redistricting is clearly a very, very desperate move that they're making. Will they get away with it? I think the Republicans will be able to redistrict because Republicans are in control. They control the state house, the state senate, and the governor's. But whether or not it will successfully affect these upcoming elections is yet to be seen. But I will say this: if they gerrymander it, and I'm sure they're going to, if they redistrict and they have the power, so they're going. If we still have a blue wave, after all this, after the redistricting, there's no hope for the Republican Party at all going forward past that. None. Because they have done everything they can. There's literally no other moves that they have, no other motions they can do. This is it. This is the only thing they can do is attempt to redistrict. But they're pissing off a lot of people, and everyone sees what's happening. And it's kind of like I said about the Streisand effect. You can try to shy away from the Epstein files, but in the process of trying to shy away from it, you're drawing attention to it. There's a Streisand effect. And I think the same thing may happen here as well. It's ridiculous to redistrict right now without new census data. But I'll hand it back to you because I know I've been dropping a mouthful of words.
Oh my gosh. Dale, you're so hilarious, and I sure do definitely appreciate you. We were trying on the back side of it, trying to get Attorney Harris on here. So that's what I was working on the back side of it. So you're doing amazing. You have told them exactly what's going on, especially with the Jeremy. It's like we got to just show up and keep getting on to our representative and telling them this is not what we want. It's in the middle of the decade. Why are you doing this? Of course we know why. You want to make sure that your seats are safe. But here's the thing: I don't know if you had talked about this, but if Texas decides to go ahead and do this redistricting, which makes no sense because it's not time for it until 2030, then California said, we're going to go ahead and put 7 more seats. So if Texas wind up deciding that they're going to go ahead and do the gerrymander there, we're going to do it over here in California. So we do have some blue states that are going to step up and handle up on this because this is ridiculous. There's no reason whatsoever for this to happen. They already have the House in Texas. They already have the Senate. And like you said, we have a Republican governor. We have been sitting in red for 30 years. And I believe that it is time for a change, and they are absolutely shaking in their boots and they are sweating in them cowboy hats. Some cowboy hats getting heavy on them because they don't know which way to move, because you got the purple and the blues coming together and people are tired of the bull crap that's going on. So guess what? A change is coming. So you can go and jerk all you want to. A lot of people that's actually on your side of the aisle, they want you gone. They want y'all out of there because y'all have literally tore up the school system, the healthcare system, the infrastructure that we got going on here. Y'all are doing backdoor deals that only fattens up your pocket. You in the middle of who knows what with the Christian, them fake Christian people. You're in the middle of their stuff. There's no telling what else y'all are involved in. You need to stop. Y'all need to go. We need to get y'all out of here. The best way I can tell you how to do this is to definitely make sure that y'all get out, register people to go vote, get the people, once you get them registered to vote, get them out so that way they can go vote. Make sure you know where you're supposed to go vote at. He heard 1 million people for 2024. And if you've moved, go check and see where you're registered at. Of course, after they do this special session, it's going to change probably. But definitely where you're supposed to be going to go vote at, because we got to all speak up and demand them to leave. And I'm so for time limits. I'm like, I'm so sick of him. He's just, Greg Abbott just needs to go. He needs to go. And last week was amazing to me, Colin Allred. And I know he ran for Senate last in 2024. I don't know. We got James Tallarico that's getting ready to join into this. So either way it goes, whoever we got that's running, anything is better than who we have now. We need a change. We need a voice, because right now, Texas, we don't have a voice. They're not listening to anything that you're saying. They don't care about your safety. They don't care about the kids' safety. Now, they did pass the bill come August that once the kids go back to school, they can't bring they can't have their cell phones in the classroom, which I kind of agree with that, because a lot of times people get distracted. Heck, I get distracted at work. So maybe that is a good thing, but then I too wonder about the safety, with we not having a good history on school safety. What happens if something happens in the school? The kids might need to be able to get to their parents, so hopefully they have something in place for that. um we'll see. We'll see with this session that's going on. I'm just over it. I'm just over all of it. I just want them to go away, because it's like that indigestion. It's only so much Pepto Bismol that you can take to get rid of it, and it's just time for a change. And we hopefully will have Antionette Harris on here in a minute, and she for judge in precinct 2, place 2, which is over in the Dallas area. So hopefully we'll get her on here and she can talk about her platform and what she has going on, because we need judges throughout Texas. We need to make some changes, and she's a great person, I think, to run for it. Of course, we have a couple of people that's also going to be running for governor too. And I'm like, I think we need some more people to throw their hats in to run for governor. Anybody know where Wendy at? I'm just saying. Wendy, you need to run.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be interesting. I'm gonna. You mentioned James Tallarico, and so I do want to plug this real quick, because I don't like Joe Rogan, but James Tallarico actually did show up to the Joe Rogan Experience. Apparently, he did phenomenal. I've only watched the first half of it, so I got to finish it. But apparently, by the end of it, even Joe Rogan is sitting here saying that James Tallarico should run for president or something like that. Interesting thing is, I just had it open. I think I closed it. There's a website called TallaricoForSenate.com. If you go to TallaricoForSenate.com, it's a website, and all the website says is launching soon. So it looks like James Tallarico may actually be running to be a senator. Now, is he going to be running in this cycle? Is he going to have a Democratic primary with Colin Allred? That'll be interesting. I'm not sure. There are kind of some rumors going around that maybe he's actually intending to run against Ted Cruz, but that's not going to be for a while.
Yeah, 7 years.
Yeah, because congressional senators actually have, I think, a 6-year term. It's kind of crazy. But it will be interesting. Is Tallarico be running against Colin Allred for a Democratic primary? It would be interesting, but I could see why Tallarico, if he is planning to do that, has not announced yet. For those who don't know, when you are a state legislature at the state level in Texas, you are actually barred from receiving campaign donations during an active session. I believe that applies to special sessions as well. This goes back to an old happening event in Texas politics a long time ago. There was a state senator who would be giving checks to other state senators on the Senate floor whenever they voted in favor of his bills. And the optics were absolutely terrible. The press noticed this and they were pointing it out. And the optics were so bad that the State House and State Senate said, okay, we're going to make a law that says you can't receive campaign finance donations while there's an active session. So happened, and because of that, if someone, usually when a candidate announces that they're running for something, not always, but usually what they do is they turn that into a fundraiser. They say, all right, here's my official campaign, here I am, and here's how you can donate money to me, right? That's a lot of candidates usually use their announcement speech as a fundraising thing. But if you're elected right now, James Tellerico is a state House representative. He's incapable of receiving campaign funding at the current moment in time, since there is an active session, since the governor called a special session.
Yeah.
So that is likely why James Tellerico has not announced yet. After the special session is done, then we might see. It will be very interesting to see if he actually does take on Colin Allred for a Democratic primary. It would be. I would almost say it's a little bit of a shame, because I kind of wish that Tellerico would run for governor, to be honest with you.
Wanted to
But
say that I really hope he changed his mind and run for governor. I think he has a very strong chance, and why not?
yeah,
I really think he has a very strong chance. I we got a couple of people that's running, and I think right now anyone that's a Democrat or even an independent will be what we have now, because these people are not thinking about the people at all. So I think I just hope maybe the best man or woman wins. We still don't know who else is going to throw their hats into the ring, but I'm with you on that. I think he would be a strong candidate as well.
yeah. James Tellerico is a powerhouse. He's a real
He,
powerhouse, and
he
it's
is.
also a real breath of fresh air, because he's a Christian, and
Mhm.
he's the type of person who believes in empathy, and he really presses on that. And it's such a breath of fresh air, because he stands against people like Tim Dunn and Ferris Wilks. For those
Mhm.
who don't know, Tim Dunn and Ferris Wilks are one of the top donors in Texas.
Right.
Tim Dunn and Ferris Wilks, on top of being bajillionaires because they have a near monopoly of the natural gas industry here in Texas, they're also so-called pastors. Like, they have their own personal megachurch, and they preach the Seven Mountain Mandate theology. The Seven Mountain Mandate theology is a weird, twisted theology that stems from New Apostolic Reformation, and it's all sorts of bad news. This is what we call Christian nationalism. And Tim Dunn and Ferris Wilks, they've associated with Nick Fuentes in the past. They literally believe that Jews should not be able to hold office. Case in point, during the primaries of Joe Strauss. Joe Strauss was a Republican Speaker of the House of Representatives at the state level in Texas. And Tim Dunn and Ferris Wilks went out there and said, hey, this guy should not even be able to hold office because he's Jewish. Like, that's just their faith. That's what they believe. Um, and it's so upsetting, because these guys have so much power. But you see someone like James Tellerico, and it's so nice to see someone set the record straight, and talk about how Christianity has a lot to do with empathy, and talk about how a lot of people will want to say that this country is a Christian nation, when and this is something that James Tellerico brought up on the Joe Rogan podcast, which I really liked. He talked about how the concept of our founding fathers were deists. They did believe in the creator, but they felt that religion should not be anywhere in governance. That the founding fathers of this country were trying to escape religious persecution. And so therefore, obviously, they did not want the government regulating religion at all, and which is why we have the separation of church and state.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if any of y'all in the audience have not heard James Tellerico speak at the Joe Rogan podcast, I really highly recommend it. Again, I don't usually like listening to Joe Rogan, but this time around it was a pretty good episode.
Yeah. Did you know that he's actually a minister as well?
Yeah, actually, that's right. I know that James Tellerico was going to seminary school, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, looks like we have our special guest has came on to the show. We're gonna bring her on up.
Technical difficulties, but I am here. I'm happy to jump in now, or if we want to reschedule this for next week, it's up to y'all.
No, we do. Let's talk about it, stuff, and we like to talk about stuff. You have missed some of
Right.
the hot topics that we've been talking about. Y'all, let me
Okay.
introduce. You're fine. You don't. No worries. No worries. Ladies and gentlemen, we have attorney Antoinette
Yes.
Harris, and she is running for a judge in Dallas for place two.
Yes.
So
Think two, plays two. Just some.
yes. So let me put my clap. Hold on one second. I got you. I got you.
Oh, you got audio, girl?
Yeah. So we're gonna bring into Internet. Please tell us about yourself and why are you running? What are you gonna do to change Texas and change Dallas because we need some good people over there to make things happen. I'm gonna bring
Right,
you on.
right. Yes. So my name is Attorney Antoinette Harris. I am running to serve as your next Justice of the Peace for Precinct 2, Place 2. I'm originally from Louisiana, born and raised in Alexandria. I got my undergrad degree from UL Lafayette in criminal justice with a minor in political science. I went on to Southern University Law Center where I got my law degree in civil law. Louisiana is still the only civil law state left in the country. So I was trained in law initially, and then I went on to get my LLM in common law. My mom taught me to value my education, and I finally understand now why she instilled that in me as a core value, because it has helped shape my perspective and my ability to kind of put myself in other people's shoes and see things from different perspectives. So I'm super grateful for my mom and the principles that she's instilled in me. Why I'm running for office, I will be really honest with you, Steph and Dale. I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of unqualified people in office. I'm really tired of people who are running for a title, running for a salary, running for power, and not running for the people. I want to be the change that I want to see. I want to bring competence to this bench. A lot of people don't know that you don't have to be an attorney to run for a JP Judge bench here in Dallas County. Um, I found out about it because I do practice in those courts. I do eviction cases. I've worked both sides of the docket on that. And I found out that half of our JPs are not lawyers, have never gone to law school, much less sat for the bar. And that's deeply concerning for me as a licensed attorney, because we're dealing with people's real life and their legal rights. And without that foundation, you run a high risk of making the wrong decision with regard to somebody's life. I don't know why the Texas legislator has set it up this way, but if you can register to vote, you can run to be a JP judge here. And so I just want to ensure that while we're in the midst of this constitutional crisis, that we have somebody on the bench that knows what they're doing, that will go to all ends to uphold the Constitution. But first, you got to know it. You need to know what the Constitution actually says, what due process is, what that means. So I want to bring competence to the bench, integrity. I'm a lifelong public servant. I've served every community I've lived in, from Alexandria to Lafayette to Baton Rouge to Austin, and now here in Dallas. I also want to bring so competency, integrity, and efficiency to the bench. I've had my own experience in these courts here in Dallas County, from JP courts to county level courts on the civil and criminal side. And some of these benches are not running efficiently, whether it's because the judge doesn't show up and doesn't actually hear the cases, or whatever it is that is causing these cases to get backlogged and why the numbers look the way they do. I'm not certain of that because I'm not a judge. I have been. I'm a former administrative judge for the state of Florida, clean up unemployment claims after COVID. So I do have that experience. It was a very brief period of time. Um, but I'm not sure what it is that is causing our courts to not be efficient. Can tell you for sure that I have encountered quite a few courts where the judges just are not present. They're physically not present. And that is unacceptable when the people's tax dollars are paying your salary to be present. So competency, integrity, and efficiency are what I'm looking to bring to this bench. And I'm running again, to be quite frank, because I'm really tired of unqualified people in office. So thank you.
Hey, you know what, Attorney Harris, that is something that we definitely need. And I definitely want to make sure we bring you back because I know when I ran, we both were talking about prison reform. And that is something that is really dear to my heart
Yes.
because here in Texas, I've noticed that once they get out,
Mhm.
there's no other thing for them. Now, there are like maybe 15, 20 companies now that are working with the prison system once they get out that can assist them. But it's like there needs to be something already in place, a better system in place for them because a lot of times, depending on what they went in jail for, they have a hard time getting on these jobs.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we need to do like an incentives to get them on these different companies and stuff because a lot of times people can't even go and work in the grocery store because maybe they did a robbery or something and that's one of the reasons why they can't work in a place that has money. So I get that, but we definitely need to work on making sure that they're educated and they're ready to go because what we have here now is not good enough. And I deserve better. If they serve their time and done what they're supposed to do, they did the work and they done probation. They're showing up. They're doing their drug tests. They're doing everything they're supposed to be doing. And they paid their fines and everything. I think they do deserve a second chance until they don't.
I
No.
agree 100%, and I see it all too often. I've had clients come in, one week I get them out, the next week they're back. It's heartbreaking to see, but it's also understandable because the system is designed for that. That is, and I tell people all the time, the system is not broken. It is working exactly the way it was designed to work. It is designed to target certain demographics, to
Mhm.
incarcerate those people, profit off their incarceration, and then force them back incarceration by letting them out with restrictions that make it impossible for them to actually be a law-abiding citizen. You got to think
Mhm.
about it. When you come from a background where everybody around you is hustling, lawfully or otherwise, and ends meet and doing what they have to do, when you grow up, that is your model. That is your example. And that is what you default to when you need to. And so you might end up shoplifting. You might end up selling drugs because that's what you know how to do. That's how you've learned how to survive. And then you get arrested for it. You get, and let's say you're on probation, just straight probation. You got to check in, you got to pay probation, fines, fees, all of that. And if you can't work because you got a shoplifting charge, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to pay those fines and fees? It sets you up for failure. And that's why I fight hard like I do for the people of Dallas County who find themselves accused, because this system is designed for you to fail once you get into it. And that's why I'm so big on targeting our youth. That's why I want to teen court to Mesquite. I don't think people understand how many 17-year-olds I've seen come out of Mesquite and go straight to Frank Crowley. I can literally identify them at this point. If I hear that you're 17, your date of birth, and I'm like, you're 17, I can almost guarantee you they're coming from Mesquite. Mesquite and Garland are two of our major cities in Precinct 2, and they have the highest crime rate in the DFW area. Those two
Wow.
cities alone have two of the highest crime rates in the DFW area. John Crusoe's office, the DA, and SMU did a study on the crime rates and the trends in the DFW. And they found that Garland and Mesquite have two of the highest crime rates in the DFW. We have got to start targeting our youth. We cannot wait until they become adults and they start disregarding the law, or wait until area is over policed to expect people to get in line. No, you have to start with them when they're young. I am a product of Teen Court. And for those who don't know, it's a program where teens adjudicate themselves. There's a real juvenile defendant. And for my program, I would like to have a trained prosecutor that's a teenager and a teenage defense attorney. and they will be tried before a jury of their peers. They will be pressed, they will be asked questions about their offense and why they did what they did to force that self reflection. It hits different coming from a peer than it does from an adult. They get admonished by adults all day, but when your own peers are forcing your self reflection, it resonates deeply and differently. And that's what we need to have happen. We need to get these kids in a courtroom before they're actually facing a judge. Maybe we can steer them in the right direction. I went from a volunteer juror to a volunteer defense attorney, and I'm really a defense attorney. So we can change these children's lives and the trajectory of their lives so that they don't encounter the system in a way that's detrimental to the rest of their lives.
Hey, I really love that. Definitely let me know what I can do because y'all, she's not on here just because she's, from my state, but she is an awesome person. I met her and I'm like, she has an awesome personality, and I know that's because she's a Louisianan.
You know,
But
Buddha do it. The Buddha will do that to you.
we're always good people and we're always trying to fight for people, and that is something that we really need to do. And I'm with you 100% on that because it starts out as crazy as it sounds. It starts off when they're babies.
Yeah.
So if we can work with the daycares and try to help these daycares implement certain things with these young babies while they're babies, because they watch everything. And these kids, especially after COVID, these some different type of
Or
they're not the
yeah,
same. When I was growing up, I'm telling my age, but I already done told it. But they're not the same kind of kids when I was growing up in the 70s. They're on some different stuff. It's like discipline. Let me tell you, you can do corporal discipline all you want to. We as adults, we have to find a better way to reach these babies because that ain't working.
no,
And that doctor stuff or whatever doctor thing that they was doing, talking about putting them in timeout, that's not working
all
either.
the gentle parenting.
I can't do that. My kids know there was no gym. It was Drill Sergeant Draper up in this place. So
No,
you do what I say.
no, and that's how I was raised as well. You don't ask any questions. You do yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. You do as I say, not as I do. But we've kind of lost those recipes because I feel like the millennial generation tried to overcompensate in the healing process. Because some of our parents were, really harsh. And we experienced a lot. We saw a lot of trauma being raised and just growing up. We had 9/11, several wars, tsunamis, all kind of stuff our generation has seen. And I think we've tried to overcompensate with the gentle parenting of our kids. And yes, I agree with it to an extent. Some children, they, respond well to gentle parenting, but some children not. And sometimes those children do end up becoming my client, unfortunately. Because when you can't get it in school, you can't figure out how to, get right. They usually end up going through life that way. And then I get them when they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s. I've even represented people in their 70s and 80s
Right.
who found themselves in the system. But if we can get ahead of that, get these kids off their phone, the doom strolling, it has to stop. We have got to get them off their phones in reality, in real life. Because it is destroying our youth. I've literally had a parent call me because their kid decided to follow some TikTok trend where they were trapping pedophiles and beating them up. Well, this kid decided to go a step further. He didn't just beat them up, he robbed them, thinking, oh, the pedophile's never going to call 911. Well, he did. And now everybody's in jail. The kid that got arrested, the pedophile, I'm sure, is on his way to getting arrested if he hasn't been already. So we've got to get them detached from those phones and into real life. Yeah, because this phone is not reality. This is what people are purporting online. They're taking their highlight reels and showing us that, but this isn't real life. So we need to get them into real life settings and real life situations and get those critical thinking skills firing.
You know what? I can't say anything except for I totally agree with you on that because of the simple fact is these phones are taking over. Dale, I know you didn't have a phone when you was growing up. We
Um,
didn't. ringtones. We had well, I had beepers and stuff like that in the 80s. Okay, I'm really telling my age, y'all. But I'm gonna tell you like this here. My parents, especially my mom, she had a good right hand. So I knew how to slide into base really good. I was really good at softball because I knew how to slide
Mhm.
because my mom would throw that shoe and you needed to learn how to duck.
Yeah.
So we
Dodging.
slid, and hey, I cherish how I was raised because that kept me out the system. I
Right.
did with my mom, and I was scared of my parents. So I'm like, I'm not gonna do anything to have my dad. My dad was a preacher, and I'm gonna tell you like this here: if you are a PK, and if you have a daddy like how I did, if you did any little thing, you are the sermon of the week.
Or not in front of the whole church.
Everybody knew. Everybody.
That's funny.
So, maybe parents, you might need to get your pastors involved and be telling them, hey, Johnny did this here, and maybe they need to do a sermon about Johnny skipping school, importance of not skipping school and getting an education. But, we definitely, I think, in a way, maybe we do need to bring a little bit about that old school stuff in to kind of like help out with this new thing because you're absolutely right. This technology and this AI stuff is really hurting our children in a way that I don't know how we're going to be able to fix it, but we got to try.
No, exactly. And that's my whole thing. And then compounding on that, I don't know if y'all have already talked about the big beautiful bill, but that's another thing that I'm looking forward to trying to help combat because I mean it's past now. We can't undo that, at least not right now. But that was just the first domino. That it's just going to have a domino effect that I don't think people really comprehend yet. But what's going to happen is people are going to start losing their basic necessities for life. And when you take away people's basic necessities for life, chaos is going to follow that. You got to know when you take away people's ability to afford their medications, they're going to try to supplement that with housing money. And when they can't pay the rent or their mortgage, people are going to start losing their homes left and right. When
Mhm.
people don't have their basic needs as far as food and housing go, you got to know the crime rate is going to go up. So we should anticipate that happening in the next few years, an increased crime rate and an increase in evictions, which is why I think it's so important to make sure that we have somebody on those JP benches that is competent, that knows what they're doing when they make their rulings, and that don't go up on appeal every other ruling. Because what's going to happen is we're going to have a high volume court go even more higher in volume because JP courts hear cases than county courts do sometimes, and depending on what county you're in. And so when you appeal a case from JP court, it goes to the county court that already has original jurisdiction over certain cases, in the civil context, should I say. So when those cases get appealed to the county court, you're now clogging up an already probably backlogged court. And it's going to create another domino effect that is going to result in injustice for a lot of. So I don't know if people really have conceptualized yet the importance of making sure that we have the right people in place because I want to be very clear, in the middle of a civil war. Our federal government and state government are attacking us on every single level, all sides. And it
Yeah.
is very important that we have our best soldiers on the front line ready to fight back against what they are attempting to do. So that is another reason why I'm running because I'm battle tested and ready to go. I'm a trial attorney. So when I take that bench, I'm taking it from the perspective of having stood down there with those people and fought for them on both sides. So unless somebody is coming into the fold with that perspective, we don't have time for it. I'm just, and I hate to say that and be as frank as I'm being, but I just have to be that frank and direct about where we are right now as a people. I'm gonna be very direct about that.
Hey, we really appreciate you coming on here and talking about it. And that's what this show is about, is let's talk. Because a lot of times, a lot of these podcasts are just rambling off about a little bit of everything. And we're trying to bring people on here that are kind of running. And of course, this show does not endorse anyone, but we do let everyone have an opportunity to get out here and speak say whatever they need to say for that. They have a platform to speak about it,
Yeah.
and you're in a safe environment.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And if I could just touch on one other point in my campaign plan, because people say Democrats don't have a plan. And for my race, I really don't think we should even be running on a party ticket, honestly. As judges, we're going to be required to follow the law. We're not going to get to ask, hey, one of the litigants, hey, are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? That's not going to factor into what we do, but it's the race that we have to run. If I had a choice, I probably would run as an independent. It's just not a practical option for me. And I lean more towards the Democratic principles and policies, favoring those. So another thing that I want to bring to the court, because they say Democrats don't have a plan. I have a plan. Part of my plan is I want to offer to the public assistance, because the JPs get paid for the weddings they do. A lot of people don't know that that money never touches Dallas County. It doesn't go through the county. It goes straight into that judge's pocket. And what they do with that money is on them. I'll create a single parent bill assistance fund, because when those dominoes start to fall, my priority is to take care of the children. In order to do that, we have to take care of the people that are taking care of the children. So let's get a single parent bill assistance fund in place. Of course, you're going to have to apply and qualify to be able to receive the funds. And you're going to have to know how to budget too, because you're going to need to foresee that delinquency in your budget, or deficient, should I say, in your budget. So, and we're going to offer, budgeting courses, resume building sessions, job fairs. All of this is going into the community engagement component. But as far as the giving back, I want to create the single parent bill assistance fund. And I also want to create a teen court scholarship program for the juvenile delinquents that go through the program and decide once they graduate from high school, they want to move in the right direction, go to college and get their education. A lot of times when you get yourself in trouble, like we just discussed, people just expect that from you. They don't expect you to go off and try to do anything better with yourself. If you are a youth, a young person, and you decide, I want to get life on track, I want to make sure my future is bright, I want to make sure I have options in my future, and I want to go to school, I feel obligated to help you get there. So I'm going to create a scholarship fund for them as well. This is what we need to start seeing from our elected officials. When I say unqualified, I mean people who don't have a heart to serve, people who simply want the acknowledgement and the public stroke of their ego. We don't need that anymore. We need people who really want to get in office and do what these people need us to do. If you're not willing to do that, please stand down.
Wow. Hey, yeah, I don't use this thing so much.
I would use it too if I had it. It's fun.
I know, you're speaking power to it, and hey, I'm like, anything I can do to assist you, please let
Oh,
me know. How can the people that are watching right now help you?
yes. Okay. Awesome. I have gotten that question a lot, and I'm just want you to know I'm so grateful for everybody that's wanting to support me any way that they can. One of the main things is the financial aspect of running for office. I hate this part. I really hate asking people for money. The independent woman in me cringes every time. I have to do this part, but it's necessary, especially as a grassroots campaign. I'm not a politician. I'm a person in politics. And I have to fund my campaign. I just got a quote back for $3,000 for some flyers and 250 signs. I'm going to need way more than 250 yard signs. So that means I'm going to need more money. Um, and so if you all can, please donate. That is the number one thing that we're going to need outside of prayer. Because I always ask people to pray for me, please, please. I don't care who you are. People are like, you should ask everybody to pray for you. They may have ill intent, but I know a God who has discernment, and He shared His discernment with me. And I know He won't let anything happen to me that would actually bring me harm. So I ask for prayer. I ask for whatever donations you all can make. You can make those donations on my website. It is Harris for JP22.com. You can also just search Harris for JP.com. It pops up as that as well. You can also like, share, and follow my social media accounts. Keep up with me. Show up to my events that I'm going to be hosting throughout the fall. So it's not all about money. You can support me in multiple ways. Getting those numbers up on social media would be great. I'll put it in the comments. I didn't know there was comments. Okay. How do I I'm learning here. Give me a second to figure out. Steph, I'm not sure how to write in the comments.
Um, yeah, it should be something over to the side. Just type in a comment on there. I'll put your information out there also too. So definitely, we definitely want to make sure that we get you some donations because boy, don't we know that how it costs a lot to run a campaign.
Yes, it does. I
It
can
does.
tell y'all this. And maybe this will get, and then also you can follow me on social media. All my social medias are either Harris for JP22 or Attorney in Harris for Dallas County Justice of the Peace Precinct 2 Place 2. I know that's a mouthful, but this is my push card. There's a QR code right here that people can get a glimpse of. But I will be handing these out all around Precinct 2. And I've also been handing them out at various events that I go to. But yeah, my email address is harrisforjp22@gmail.com. You can reach me. I have a campaign phone number, but I cannot recall it right now. Just call my firm number. It's 833-326-4529. Again, that's 833-3ANH Law. You can reach me there. I won't give out my personal cell phone number.
Yeah,
Um,
don't do that.
Platform, yes, but y'all can reach me at that number as well.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Antoinette, Attorney Harris, we're going to definitely have to bring you back on here. It was just
I would love
lovely
it.
having you on here. I really appreciate you coming on here. Dale, I have to say, because this is the first time Dale has been quiet.
Oh, no,
Oh, I filled up some of the space.
yeah, no, I wanted the internet to be able to talk and introduce yourself. I believe I've seen you around before. I think on the DFW Monthly Mingle as well.
Yeah.
But internet, thank you very much for advocating for these things. It's really important, and I know it's really difficult to advocate for some of these things, especially as Democrats, because I know on the other side of the aisle, the Republicans tend to view us or point at us and say that we're always soft on crime and things like that.
Yeah.
I tell you, I apparently went viral on TikTok once, but not in a good way, because I started talking about prison reform, and I got all sorts of angry comments of people saying that Democrats are weak on things like that. Because I think it was about 2 years ago, there was multiple people across various different prisons in Texas who passed away, and in every case, some people raising their eyebrows and saying, "Hey, these prisons do not have air conditioning, and it looks like these people have like died from heat stroke." And one of our state house representatives, apparently, in an act of cruelty, he took himself onto Twitter and he pointed. I'm blanking on the name of the guy, but there was a mass shooter down in El Paso a long time ago, and he pled guilty, and he, was sent to prison. And the state house representative said, "See, you know what? I'm glad these people don't have air conditioning and get cooked to death because people like this, like him, deserve it." And first of all, obviously, that's in bad taste. Secondly, it's kind of ridiculous to say that because the thing is, federal prisons actually have certain standards and they back, but state prisons do not. And so I made a TikTok video and I was talking about saying, "Hey guys, like, if someone gets arrested for marijuana or something like that, or someone gets arrested for shoplifting, do they really deserve to be cooked to death? I would argue not. And also, there's a very serious potential for the family members of these people who pass away to claim that this is cruel and unusual punishment. And boy, I tell you, when you're a Democrat running for office and you talk about or things like that, all sorts of angry comments come out, and you're just labeled as being soft on crime and things like that. But the system is cruel. I understand that there are rapists and murderers out there in the world, but not everyone is, and people don't deserve to be cooked to death for shoplifting or things like that. So there are such things as nonviolent crimes, but when it comes to media outlets, they focus so much on painting everyone as if they're a monster, to the point that unfortunately we see things. I'm blanking on the state house representative who made that tweet. I'm blanking on his name right now, but it's very disheartening to see and what I believe is a broken system. But thank you for advocating. We really need people like you running for office, and I really hope that you're able to secure your position here and a JP precinct 2. I
Thank
put
you.
your link to your is he
Oh no, I
yeah.
just added it. I
Okay.
figured out how to do it. I'm not used to podcasts and all this stuff, so I figured out how to get into the group chat, and it should be there. I don't know if it's available for the public to see, but that's my link tree with my campaign website. My donor box is on there as well for people to make donations. Anybody wanting to see my law firm website, it's on there as well, and all my social medias are there. But Dale, I completely agree with what you're saying. The conditions just at Lou Sterrett, the North Tower over there at Frank Crowley, the Dallas County Jail, are harsh. From what I from my clients, they tell me that the conditions are really harsh. And I agree that there needs to be a nationwide reform, because but at the same time, you're always going to get pushback from the Republican Party, or really any party that is profiting off mass incarceration. And that's exactly what the Republican Party is doing. They're benefiting from those folks being incarcerated and continuing to come back, because then they get their free to cheap labor. Um,
Mhm.
that nobody that is profiting from is going to say, "Oh, well, this is wrong," even though they know it's wrong. It is just another form of slavery. The plantations, they're still there. They're just now prisons. The prisons are the new plantations, and as you can see, the populations in those prisons look much like they did during slavery and Jim Crow. So not much has changed in America with that regard. And I really hope somebody takes the helm on that, and really moves forward and progresses that need for change. If God allows me to be the advocate for that, I would love to do so. But for right now, he's running for this bench because he can best serve people in this capacity. Um,
Mhm.
but any lawmakers, legislators that would want to work with me in that capacity, I would love to speak with them. Um, I'm like I said, I'm not a politician, I'm not a lobbyist, I'm not a legislator, but I would love to speak with anybody that's looking to do that kind of work, and help them out in whatever regard that I can.
That is amazing, and I'm like, I'm just floored. I really believe in you, and I really hope that you get where, because you know what? Because people like you that we need, and that gives me hope
Oh,
that we have a future in Texas and in this country. We need more people like yourself and like Ms. Crockett
I,
that really, hey, I love that girl. I really do. And I just wish she would just run for governor. I'm just saying. But I just want everybody to run.
I
Any
don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you.
I could see her, moving up even higher up. I'm looking at her being like president, maybe, in the future. I'm for that, because
Hey,
we need some strong individual that care and not going to be wavery about the facts and don't have um, all this extra baggage. And I don't think she does. I think she's a good person, and that's like with yourself, just listening to how you actually care. That's what we need right now is empathy. We need somebody that's going to be strong and that's going to show empathy when it's time to show empathy. And we need real people that actually are knowing what they're doing, because I don't think that could happen in Louisiana. You have to actually be an attorney to be a judge. You
Good.
know,
Yes,
like,
they do. Now I don't know about the municipal judges back home in Louisiana, the lower level court judges back home, but it is, to me, my immediate reaction to that was, what the hell? Because all the while you're going to law school, they're justifying what you're going through by telling you you have to go through this battery of tests and then get through the bar, which is another battery of tests, so that we can protect the public. That's just to represent people. So if we're not protecting the public as far as the judiciary goes, what are we doing? Somebody down in Austin needs to advocate for a reform with regard to that as well. Because what the way I look at it is, if I was in need of emergency surgery and I had to choose between a nurse practitioner who very well can keep me alive but doesn't really have the experience of cutting somebody open like that, or a surgeon, I'm going to go with the surgeon, because I know this person has the experience that they need to get me through this process without me dying. It's not that I don't like the nurse practitioner. I think she's a terrible, or he's a terrible person, or they now, because it's he, she, they, them. It's not
okay,
that I think this person is terrible. I just believe more in this other person's experience, and I think
right,
that's what we need to be looking at as far as our leadership goes as well. A lot of us are complaining about our leadership, one, because we didn't vote for it, but I think the real problem is what you just said: the lack of empathy. You cannot expect somebody to be able to empathize from a perspective they've never experienced. You can't. TD Jakes just said it last Sunday. You cannot expect somebody to lead you to or through something they've never been through.
amen.
Expect that from them. So when I look at Donald Trump and all of his cronies and flunkies, I don't expect them to have any empathy. They've never had to struggle through anything in life. How are you going to expect them to understand any struggle we may have when they've never had to fight for anything? It's just
Right.
handed to them. So when you vote people like that into office, you can't then expect them to look back and say, "Oh, I empathize with you," because they won't. They can't. It's not that they don't want to. They just literally can't.
Yeah, they don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't get it. And
Yeah.
I'm laughing at you with what you said about the difference between a PA and a surgeon. Well, I finally got my date when I'm supposed to be having surgery, and I have been scared to
Don't be
death.
scared.
I was scared. I'm telling you, I was like, Lord, they can't fill out this paperwork right. They can't get it over here.
Oh,
Trust this person to go do surgery, even though he's not the person that is doing the paperwork. But I'm one of those people, like, I'm an insurance agent, right?
mhm.
And it's just like you have some person that works at McDonald's finna go ahead and sell this person insurance, don't have a clue why you selling this whole life, or why you have this health insurance, why. And then something happens to your loved one, and oh, I thought I had sold you that.
Right.
Excuse me, I'm gonna have a problem with that when I'm trying to bury my loved one, or they
Right.
trying to bury me. So I get it. You definitely need. You went to school for to be an attorney. You went to school. You know the law. You understand it. So why not, when you're proceeding over these folks? Why wouldn't you not know
Exactly.
the bills or this case study? So we need
A new
qualified.
bill that just passed. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I recently wrote an article. It's on my law firm website, and it's also on my campaign website, about the bill that just passed with regard to squatters here in Texas. So it's kind of a breakdown of what it's going to look like. Part of it is going to go into effect starting September 1st. The rest of it will go into effect in January of 2026. So if anybody take a look at that on my campaign website. just to get a feel for what's coming down the pipeline with regard to evictions. Because now it's a criminal offense to purport to convey real estate or lease it out without the proper ownership documentation in place. So people want to take a look at that, especially if you're in that arena. If you're, either a landlord or a tenant, you want to look at that to see what your rights and will be, should I say, come September and then January of 2026.
I'm definitely gonna have to bring you back on here because you're just giving us so much good information that we all needed. Because I'm gonna tell you, when I first moved here to Texas, we had rented this home, and obviously the person that we thought was the homeowner was not. He was a spouse, and they were getting a divorce, and he had me illegally in this home, and I kept wondering why the police were kept showing up at my house, and I'm like, what's going? It was so much stuff going on with that. So we definitely need to educate the people on all new laws on there. So I definitely want to make sure that we bring you back on here. And oh Lord, we are so past time, but hey, it was good. It's like being in church. It was wonderful to have you on here. We get long-winded sometimes.
Yeah, no, I know I can be. I will mouth if you let me. So I appreciate y'all for having me. Thank you for the patience. I was at a campaign event for another candidate. And then I wasn't able to get logged in, but we got the technical difficulties resolved. I'm glad I got to chat with you and Dale. It's been my honor to be here.
Yes. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna give you 2 minutes to go ahead and do your stump speech. I'm gonna give you 2 minutes, and then Dale, you're gonna close us on out. I'll do a little bit of thing, but I just want to tell everybody, thank y'all for supporting. Like and make sure you share this video and go support Attorney Harris and give her some help. Give us some money because we need money when we running for these offices and stuff because we people need people like her to defend us. Because if hey, do you do tickets?
Yes, traffic tickets I do.
Oh, I'm gonna have to call you. I don't have one yet. But,
oh, you do one. But if you do, you can call me. I will help you.
I appreciate that. I know some people.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I got you.
Let's go ahead and let you do your stump speech on here. I'm gonna turn this on over to you.
And so this is a stump speech?
Yes.
Okay. Well, again, everybody, my name's Attorney Antionette Harris. I am looking forward to serving you all in the capacity of Justice of the Peace for Precinct 2, Place 2 here in Dallas County. I believe this court can be way more than what it is. I'm looking forward to getting into office and getting to work. I'm looking forward to serving you in the highest capacity in the highest regard. I want to keep you all educated and informed with what's going on in our community. I want to provide the assistance that we are going to need here in a few. I want to actually show up for you all. I've been painting since April, late April, and I rarely ever see my opponent out in the community. And my own constituents, fellow constituents, have noted this as well. So I want to be a representative for you all in the community. Like I said, I'm looking forward mainly to serving. I thank the Dallas community at large for embracing me the way you all have. Even allowing me on this podcast. She didn't have to do that. I'm very grateful for what Dallas has poured into me, and I am so looking forward to put that back into the people of Precinct 2. Thank you for your time.
Aww. I just love that. You know what? I just have to do this one little thing for you one more time.
I love that thing.
Dale, close us on out, and we'll see you next week. But Dale's gonna close you out.
Okay.
Yeah, well, first, Antionette, thank you so much for being here. I've heard you talk about before a couple of times, and I'm glad that I hope that you come back again because there's definitely a lot going on, and you're very knowledgeable, and I hope that you can come maybe next week or week after again. But I'll close out. There's a couple of things I want to plug. I want to plug the Frisco Democratic Club. We meet usually on every fourth Friday of the month. This time around, due to a scheduling issue and a venue issue, we will be meeting this coming Sunday. The Frisco Democratic Club. If you want to learn more about us, you can come to friscodemocrats.org. We have our happy hour this coming Sunday. What I do is I bring an ampliphone and a microphone and an amplifier, and I allow our candidates who are running for office in Frisco to introduce themselves. We actually have two candidates right now, two Democratic candidates who are going to primary each other in order to run against Keith Self, who is our congressional representative in the Frisco area. Things will be interesting because apparently congressional redistricting is underway right now in the current special session. And so also the Frisco Democratic Club will be talking about the potential impacts of that there. Another entity I would like to plug is Progressive Leaders Toastmasters. Progressive Leaders Toastmasters is a Toastmasters space that is open to Democrats. A lot of times, if you come to any regular old Toastmasters group, you might feel intimidated or might not feel too safe about talking about progressive values. You are in a safe space here. If you want to learn more about us, you can come to Facebook and look up Progressive Leaders Toastmasters. We meet every single week, Monday at 7 p.m. Lots of people who have run for office in the past come to this Toastmasters group. Richard Fleming, who is a Carrollton City Council member, shows up sometimes too. There's lots of people who have run for the past and some people who are planning to run for the future who also come to this group. So it's a nice area to meet like-minded Democrats and also hear local leaders speak. Again, that's Progressive Leaders Toastmasters. You can look them up on Facebook. I'll also do a self-plug real quick too. I'm going to give more information about this yet because I haven't quite got my website up, but I'm fixing to run for the Denton County Commissioner's Court for Precinct 2. The Denton County Commissioner's Court is the point of contention that we're facing right now here in Denton County is the fact that we do not have county-wide voting on Election Day. We do have county-wide voting during early voting, but on the Election Day itself, which is the last day to vote. This confuses a lot of people, but we've noticed that a good, I think 12 to 15% of people get redirected on Election Day. And this really affects people because there's some college kids who would say, oh man, I need to make it to class. I can't vote. And there's one story that really breaks my heart of a guy who was on a breathing machine in a wheelchair. He had to be hydraulically lifted out of his vehicle, went up to vote, and the election judge had to say, I'm sorry, sir, you can't vote here because countywide voting is not supported on the Election Day itself. You can only vote at your one registered voting location. So it's what we at the Democratic Party consider to be election interference. And it's the county commissioners who have complete control here of the elections and this aspect of county-wide voting. So that will be something I'll be advocating for coming up in the future. So yeah, in closing, I wanted to plug Progressive Toastmasters and the Frisco Democratic Club meeting this Sunday. And Stephanie, again, as always, thank you very much for hosting this. It's always really good to see other Democrats in the area. Antionette, it's really good to see you again, that you can come back and talk with us next time as well.
Absolutely. Thank y'all so much for having me.
All righty. So y'all, he done said what he done said. Y'all please look up Antionette Harris, go to her law firm and please help her out. And Dale, I am so proud of you. Oh my goodness. I'm so proud of you. Now, I'm not going to get on my little platform and stuff like that and say anything, but you just never know what's going to happen in my future. But I am always going to be a champion for everybody else because if y'all win, y'all make my life better.
I know that's right. I know that's right. That's the goal. That is the goal.
Yes. So we'll see y'all next week at 7 p.m. on Let's Talk About It Stuff. And if you are a candidate and you want to come on here, come on, give me a shout out and Let's Talk About It Stuff on gmail.com. You in a safe space. You know, you just never know what comes out of our mouth these days and whoever's going to be on here. So just come on out here, like and share, and we'll see you next week. And we are out.
Bye, everybody.